So we are resuming our studies. The two Scottish generals Macbeth and Banquo were returning from the great battle. As we all know that Macbeth had defeated the rebel army, he was returning, and along with Macbeth there was another general, his name was Banquo. They were returning from the battlefield. There was thunder and lightning. The spelling is wrong, it is written lightning, actually it should be lightning. There was thunder and lightning. Thunder, what is thunder? When there is clash between two clouds, a terrible sound is produced. মেঘে মেঘে সংঘর্ষ হলে প্রচণ্ড আওয়াজ হয়, that is called thunder, বজ্রপাত. And lightning means a flash of light, বিদ্যুৎ. That means it was a very bad weather, a very inclement weather. On the way, they were stopped by the strange appearance of three figures. When Macbeth and Banquo were returning, they came across three figures, three strange figures. Why strange? Because they looked like women except that they had beards. They looked like women but they had beards. What is beard? Beard is the hairy growth on the face of a male. In Bengali it is called dari. Women don't have beards, but these women had beards. And their withered skin and wild dresses made them look like unearthly creatures. Withered skin. Withered means dry. They had dry skin and they were dressed in a wild manner. That means they were not dressed in a proper manner. And Macbeth and Banquo thought that they were unearthly creatures. That means they did not belong to the earth. As if they were not earthly. Tara aparthiv. They were dancing, they were singing. Fair is foul and foul is fair, hovered through the fog and filled the air. This is one of the most famous quotes from Shakespeare. Fair is foul and foul is fair. The three strange women were singing this song. What is meant by the term fair? The word fair means something good, something noble, mohot kichu. Foul means something bad, something evil, ashubho kichu. The women were singing, fair is foul and foul is fair. That means there is no difference between noble deeds and evil actions. Mohot kaj, kharab kajer kono tofat nei. Something that is noble is evil, something that is evil is noble. There is no difference between good and bad. We should achieve our goal by fair means or foul. লক্ষ্যে পৌঁছতে গেলে খারাপ ভালো যে কোনো উপায়ে পৌঁছতে হবে. This is what they were singing. Hovered through the fog and filled the air. Hover through means sail through, fly through. Let us fly through the fog. Fog, you know, mist, kuasha. And fill the air. Filthy means dirty, contaminated, dushito. Why was there fog and why was there contaminated air? Dushito batash keno? Because the women were singing in a marsh. What is a marsh? A marsh means a land full of grass and water, jolavuli. They were singing in a marsh. Actually, these women were witches. Who is a witch? A witch is a woman supposed to have magical power. কোনো নারীর অলৌকিক শক্তি আছে বলে মনে করা হয়. Actually, no woman has any magical power, but it is a kind of superstition. And in Shakespeare's time, this superstition was very much rampant in England. এই কুসংস্কার ইংল্যান্ডে খুব ব্যাপকভাবে প্রচলিত ছিল about the witches. That's why Shakespeare had introduced witches in his play. So how many witches were there? There were three witches. As they saw the two generals, the first witch saluted Macbeth with the title of Thane of Glamis. The first witch, this question may be asked, how did the first witch greet Macbeth? The first witch greeted Macbeth as the Thane of Glamis. Now this is true, Macbeth was really the Thane of Glamis, the landlord of Glamis. The general was scarcely startled to find himself known by such creatures. Startled, shocked. Macbeth was shocked. Why was Macbeth shocked? That a witch knew him by name. তাকে চেনে। So Macbeth was shocked. The second witch addressed him as the Thane of Cawdor. The second witch did not address Macbeth as the Thane of Glamis. The second witch addressed Macbeth as the Thane of Cawdor. Cawdor was another thanage. Arakta thanage hocche Cawdor. Macbeth was not the Thane of Cawdor. Macbeth was the Thane of Glamis. But the second witch addressed Macbeth as the Thane of Cawdor, to which he had no pretensions. Here pretensions means right. Macbeth had no right, তার কোনো অধিকার ছিল না, to the thanage of Cawdor. Just as Macbeth was the Thane of Glamis, there was another person who was the Thane of Cawdor. But the second witch addressed Macbeth as the Thane of Cawdor. So Macbeth was very much surprised, and the third told him, "You will be the king of Scotland hereafter." The third witch predicted that Macbeth would become the king of Scotland. To predict means to make a prediction, bhobishotbani kora. So what was the prediction of the second witch? The second witch predicted that Macbeth would become the Thane of Cawdor. The third witch predicted that Macbeth would become the king of Scotland. Such a prophetic greeting might well amaze him. Prophetic greeting. The word prophetic comes from the word prophet. Prophet means one who can see the future. Actually, the witches were seeing the future. They could see the future, and they were addressing Macbeth as a prophet. So it is prophetic greeting. So this prophetic greeting amazed Macbeth. To amaze means to surprise. তাকে অবাক করলো. For as he knew that as long as the king's son survived, he could scarcely hope to succeed the throne. How can Macbeth become the king of Scotland? Duncan had two sons, and if Duncan dies, his son would become the king. The elder son will become the king. If the elder son dies, the younger son will become the king. How can Macbeth be the king? Macbeth was a relative, not the son of king. So he had no hope to succeed the throne. To succeed means to get something as inheritance. Uttaradhikar sutre pawa. He could not get the throne. Throne means the seat where the king sits, Shinghashan. He cannot get the throne as succession. He cannot get it because he was not the son of Duncan. By this time, Banquo was curious to know the reason why the witches had little to say about him. Banquo, the other general, was also curious. Curious means eager to know what the witches had to say about him, because they had said so many things about Macbeth, that he would become the Thane of Cawdor, he would become the King of Scotland, but they had remained silent about Banquo. So Banquo wanted to know something about himself, whereas they kindled hope in the heart of his dearest friend. The predictions of the witches had kindled hope. That means give rise to hope in the heart of his dearest friend, means Macbeth. Now Macbeth had the hope of becoming the king. But what about Banquo? So the witches turned towards Banquo and told him in somewhat riddling terms. Riddle means something enigmatic, something that has not a very simple answer. In Bengali it is called dhada. So the witches told Banquo something in an enigmatic manner, in a confusing manner. What did they predict about Banquo? To be lesser than Macbeth and greater. They said that Banquo would not be so great as Macbeth, but he will be greater than Macbeth. Macbether মতো অত বড় হবে না, কিন্তু Macbether চেয়ে আরো বড় হবে. Not so happy, but much happier. He would not be so happy as Macbeth, but he would be happier than Macbeth. Now this is something confusing. That's why it is called riddling. They also prophesied. Prophesy means to predict, that although Banquo would never reign as the King of Scotland, reign means rule. They predicted that Banquo would not be the King of Scotland like Macbeth. Yet his successors would be the king. Successors. That means those who succeed, inheritors, Uttaradhikari. The inheritors of Banquo, his sons, his grandsons, would become the King of Scotland. Now this is also something riddling. The Son of a king becomes the king. Banquo would not be the king, but his son would become the king. That is something confusing, something enigmatic. But they predicted this about Banquo, that Banquo would not be the king, but his descendants, the Bangshadharera, they would be the kings. And they turned into thin air and vanished. Then the three witches disappeared, by which the generals realized the weird sisters to be witches. Weird sister. Weird means strange. The three strange sisters were witches. How did Banquo and Macbeth realize it? They realized because they suddenly vanished. When they suddenly disappeared, Banquo and Macbeth understood that they were witches. So our lesson comes to an end today. Read up to this point. I will send you the word notes. I will send you the questions. Thank you.